There was a conversation that came up earlier in the week in the fighting game community on Twitter where people were discussing like, does it really make sense for the pay for coaching in fighting games? A lot of people was talking about how it really benefited them, and how it was something that they really seen a lot of value in and stuff like that in gaming. But other people were basically saying like, yeah, tutorials and teaching and you coaching me is valuable, but it ain't nothing I pay for some money for. Like, it just ain't that serious. So, what do you guys think? Do you think paying for coaching in fighting games is actually something that's worth the investment? Or do you feel like it's something that you should really probably just be grinding this out yourself, or something that you should really seek out in a free option? Starting with you, Mr. Gamer.
I think it's worth paying for, especially if you have someone that is able to um, take the knowledge they have and actually show you. Because it's one thing to know how to do something, but it's also more valuable to actually know how to teach it if you can teach it in a concise and efficient manner. And in today's environment, everybody wants something quick. They want it fast. So most people are like, well, why would I take the time to go learn something if I can just get somebody to show it to me, right? That knows it already. Um, so that's one thing. And then you also have like look at like professional sports. A lot of professional athletes have coaches. They pay for they like your basketball team. They have a coach on the sideline. Like these are the elite of the elite basketball players, but they still have a coach on the sideline organizing things because one, a coach can see things you can't see. It doesn't matter if you're highly skilled or not. If you're in the moment and you're playing, especially with a fighting game, it's different in a basketball game. If you're on a court, you can see a much greater field of view of the court. Um, well, excuse me, I have that backwards. You only see the other people. You can't see yourself. But in a fighting game, the character is an extension of you, so you literally see yourself on the screen, so you can see what's going on with both players. At the same time, however, you still might not notice something that the opponent is doing. They might be clearly always going for a wake up, or clearly always going for a jab pressure, and you just for some reason are not noticing that. So a coach could be like, "Hey, bro, you don't notice he's literally always going for this jab pressure on you. You don't see that," and you're like, "Oh snap, he is." So that's why I say you can like find you can find value in a coach. Now here's the other side to what my point I'm trying to make. When it comes to these professional basketball players and their coaches, these players are getting paid money out the wazoo. They're getting paid lots of money. So for them to get a coach, it's like, oh, this is a drop in the bucket. Probably pay this guy a few couple of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars or whatever to coach me and keep me up on my game, right? Now, for the average Joe playing fighting games, that's probably not the case. You're probably not somebody that has such exposable income that you can just dish out to give somebody to coach you, right? But at the same time, if it's a service that you want and if you feel like it's valuable enough, then it should be paid for. And we are in an age where there's so many things that are considered services, and you pay for this stuff. Like everything now has an audience. Everything now can have a consumer base. So if you feel like it's worthy enough to get, then pay for it. If this person they're using their time, first of all, they're using their time to show you something, and if they are actually successful at making you better, why not pay for it? It just depends. It just depends on what you're going for, how you want to learn, how much you want to learn. Again, like I said, today is a really give it to me now, give it to me quick landscape. So a lot of people just want to learn how to do a combo. They just want to learn how to, I don't know, do a special move. They're not really looking to like learn something like in the mindset of a tournament player. Like I'm trying to like I'm going to X Y Z person to make me more efficient in this certain aspect. I'm going to go to Daigo to help me with my spacing or my neutral or whatever or something like that. Well, the average person is just like they just want to get better, and you quantify that just like getting better is kind of different depending on who you are, like what level you're at. If you're a beginner, just winning could be better, but if you're a more experienced player, winning is not really what you want to learn. You want to learn how to win, like the steps to take to get to winning, and that could be changing a certain part of your gameplay, your gameplay style. Like, oh, I need to stop being so defensive. I need to stop being so offensive in certain scenarios. So also the thinking behind it, the skill level of the player kind of comes into factor into play. I just think it's a lot of different things that come into like determining if it's valuable enough for you to pay for. But again, like I said, if you feel like it's a service where it's valuable enough to get to somebody, ask them to teach me to play this game, pay for it for a reasonable price, of course. Um, and also, especially if they're successful, if they actually help you become better, hey, break them off a little something. But again, like I said, it's just different. It just depends on what you're looking for. Like I said, the whole comparison with like professional sports, it's different because they have a bigger base of finances to go. You know, people like me, regular people, they just like, oh, I need to spend this money on X, Y, and Z. So they don't just have money to just be like, well, I guess I'll pay somebody to coach me. That's the type of stuff you just have when you just got money to blow. Like, well, I want somebody to coach me just because I can. So yeah, I think if it's valuable enough for you, pay for it. So.
So I've actually paid for coaching before. Actually, I've actually been in the situation like when I wanted to become better at Tekken 7. There's a guy I know. His name's AJ. Goes by Korean Panda. He's actually a really good, very very good Tekken player. From I think he's from Atlanta. I think. At least definitely I think he's definitely in the Georgia area. I think. But anyway, he's he's a really really good Tekken player, and I paid for coaching from him for a while, for a few months, and it was really good playing, like having somebody dedicated to like absorbing and observing your play style and trying to find out spots where you can like see the spots where you can make improvements, because that's important. Like Devin was saying, like you can't always see exactly what is going on all the time. You can't necessarily, maybe one day you might, but you want, like, there's going to be a point where you're just like you can't actually see where what exactly is going on the screen all the time. And it's best to have somebody off to the side kind of being like, okay, like, I see where you're making mistakes, I see where you're doing well, so let's focus on making that better. Here's your weaknesses, let's focus, like let's try to like work on those a little bit more. Like there were some points where there were points where I was kind of like, man, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. And he kind of had to point it out to me and had to break it down. It's like, yo, you need to start doing this more. You don't sidestep enough. You need to still use your backdash a little bit more to generate a little space for going baiting the whiffs and stuff like that. Like the Korean backdash is probably I'll be 100%. That is one of the least used tools in my arsenal. I think that is one of the, even when I'm on the player one side where I can actually do it reliably, it is still one of the least used tools in my arsenal. And that was something, he kind of, one of the things he had me trying to do a little bit more. He also helped me work on some of my wall combos, learned on like utilizing moves. Like I play Miguel, so utilizing moves with Miguel that I didn't even really use, like the up back one, I think it's like up back 1-4, where he like kind of slaps you and then he kind of steps on your foot. Like that was a good move to use every once in a while. But then it's kind of like you use that and then it's like, all right, do that move, but then like like do a down forward one and then sidestep. You like, or do a up back one and then sidestep. There were so many times where like just doing something simple as that, just hitting a down forward one and then sidestepping, that completely changes your game. Just completely changes how like you approach the game, how you think about approaching the game and stuff like that. And I would never have thought to do that. It's so simple. It's such a simple thing to do. Down forward one, sidestep. Down forward one, sidestep. Up back one, sidestep. It's like, down back three, sidestep. Down back three, hold forward, and then like, and then like you're in a savage stance, and then just not do anything. You just stand there menacingly. Like these really simple concepts. Yeah, like that is like he's just standing there menacingly. Like that is the thing. For like Miguel, you just stand there menacingly in savage stance, and then you go back into it. So I don't know. I would say that, I mean, like the only that, like Devin said though, like it costs. You got to pay. Like you got to pay for the value. It's value that you got to pay for. And I'm a broke boy, so I couldn't pay for. I had to, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a broke boy. I couldn't pay for it. I paid for it for a few months, and but I got a lot of. He helped me a lot, but I'm broke, man. Broke as a joke. So if I had the money, I would probably go back to getting coaching for that because I feel like it helped me a lot. I would definitely recommend it to anybody out there who's thinking about getting coaching in any fighting game. But the thing about it is, I was talking with some buddies yesterday while we were playing Soul Calibur. We were talking about people getting like therapy and stuff like that. And I mean, I got lucky that I was like being coached by somebody, number one, who was my friend who I already knew, number two, who kind of knew my play style, and number three, who was a good coach for me. So we were talking about like if you wanted to go like therapy or something like that, you're the first person that not always the first person you get is the best person. They like their style might be different, like not incompatible with the way that you're actually receiving the information. So you got to take that into consideration. You got to take into consideration your own mindset, your own mind state going into the coaching. Like, are you thinking, okay, well, I'm going to go into this coaching and I'm going to be in here for X amount of months or X amount of weeks, and I should be here by then. And then if I'm not here by then like, what's the point? It's like you gotta give yourself leeway. You can't expect everything to happen so quickly. You gotta trust the process. You really do gotta trust when you're when you're being coached. You gotta trust the process, man. And but you gotta, like I said, you gotta also observe how you feel about the coaching. How you feel the person who's coaching you, how you feel about their style, how you feel about your style in comparison, how it meshes with theirs. So there's a lot of factors to consider. But I mean, like, you always have to consider all the factors when you do just about anything: buying a house, buying a car, even buying the next video game you want to buy. Like, what game is it, what genre, how many players is it, and all that good stuff. You evaluate it like people evaluate games pretty thoroughly these days before they pay $60. So you're probably going to want to evaluate the coach before you actually hire them. But yeah, I would say that I would definitely recommend coaching. I think it's great. It's a great way to, like, I mean, at the very least, you'll learn a little bit and you'll have a new friend, right? Like, you'll have somebody who is knowledgeable, and they'll be there for you, and they'll be like, hey man, you need to do this. I mean, I like it's a really great, it's a good experience. I had a great experience when I was being coached, and I definitely think that it's well worth the money.
For me, in my opinion, I can see two different ways where you can get coaching. One is if your main goal is to become a professional fighting game player, like if that's your desire, your goal, you see that you have the talent that you really want to cultivate to make sure that you can take it to the next level, or if you're just, just a standard person who just has ambitions to be a professional player, I mean, then make the investment. It's worth the investment. Like, if that's the dream that you have, your dream is worth the investment. Um, Also, I could see if you're just a person that just has the funds, you really like fighting games, and you just want to be a person that can be competitive when you go to tournaments and stuff like that, and you have the means to do it, then go for it. But it shouldn't be anything that you have to, feel like you just, if you're not in a situation to do it, then do it. I mean, a lot of people say it's not worth it and stuff like that. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I mean, you have, like Devin said, you have so many people out here investing in so many things. I mean, I don't know. I technically don't know how much coaching costs. I really don't know, like, the cost of it and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure whatever number you name, a person is spending that on McDonald's every month. So, you saying that McDonald's is more valuable than coaching you can get in something that you actually enjoy? Because I can tell your body don't enjoy that McDonald's. But that's besides the point. People like to just, shun people because of things that they feel like is not as important and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people was telling Serena Williams you shouldn't be investing so much in tennis. Like, tennis isn't, a sport that you really should, be going into. And then now, she's basically arguably one of the best athletes that's ever, did a sport. So, you just really have to know for yourself. There's so many things that people invest into that, don't ain't worth a hill of beans. but they invest into it. And a lot of people will try to tell them like, oh, well, if that's what you like, don't make fun of that person because that's what they like. Well, it should be the same thing when it comes to coaching and stuff like that. And everybody has an opinion. Not saying that my opinion is the end all be all. The decree that people should base their lives off of. But I mean, if you really enjoy it and you have the funds to do it, I mean, do it. You know, there's things that I like that I necessarily don't believe that is something that I want to like take my like Netflix. I'm not Netflix. What is it? Disney Plus. I invest in Disney Plus every month, but Disney Plus ain't nothing that I'm just sitting here like, oh well, it's something that's gonna add meaning to my life. Like it's just Disney Plus. So it just really depends on what you want to do, and you really have to search yourself. For what you like, and is it worth your investing as long as it's not like hurting your funds or something like that. Like you know, is either pay rent or get coaching, and you just like, sometimes you don't pay rent, you know. But so that's my answer. Anybody else have anything to add?